The woman no one saw night sky above Los Angeles shimmered like a blanket of diamonds. But inside the grand gala hall, under glittering chandeliers and soft orchestral music, Ana de Armas stood quietly near the edge of the room. She wore a soft silver gown, simple but graceful, not loud like the others. It hugged her figure gently, a whisper of elegance rather than a shout. She wasn't there to be the center of attention. In truth, she almost didn't come, as photographers flashed their cameras at stars laughing in groups and clinking champagne glasses. Ana's smile was careful, small. She kept her hands folded in front of her and her eyes lowered. She wasn't new to fame, but tonight felt different. There was a heavy silence around her, even in a room full of noise. No one seemed to notice her. No one asked about her work. No one looked at her twice. She wasn't bitter, was used to the ups and downs of Hollywood. But this evening had started to sting in ways she hadn't expected. She had worked hard on her latest film. It was small, personal, and important to her. It didn't have explosions or dramatic headlines. It had quiet emotion, honesty, pain, and healing. But no, one cared. Not tonight. As the room buzzed with celebrities and executives, Ana saw old co-stars walk past her like she was invisible. Some nodded politely, others didn't look at all. One director she had worked with years ago gave her a forced smile, then turned away before she could say hello. Ana moved toward the open balcony, needing air. The night was cooler out there. It brushed her skin with gentle fingers and wrapped around her shoulders like an old friend. She closed her eyes for a moment, steadying her breath. In the distance, the city lights twinkled like a promise she once believed in. Behind her, the ballroom continued without her. Laughter, clinking glasses, the low hum of business being done, all of it felt far away. She was here, but not present. She felt like a shadow at her own celebration. Then someone stepped beside her. Quiet, no words, just a presence. As she opened her eyes slowly and turned her head. It was Keanu Reeves. He wasn't dressed like the others. His tuxedo was classic but understated. No flashy jewelry, no forced smile, just his calm, respectful energy. He looked at the city for a moment before glancing at her. His eyes weren't filled with surprise or pity, just kindness. "You okay?" he asked. Softly. Ana wasn't expecting it. The simple question almost broke her. She nodded, then paused. "Just needed some air." Keanu leaned slightly against the railing. "Me too. Feels like everyone's trying to outshine everyone else in there." Ana gave a small smile. "Yeah, it's loud." He looked at her more deeply this time. "You don't belong in the background, Ana." Her throat tightened. "I feel like a ghost tonight." Keanu shook his head gently. "No, you're just real in a room full of masks." Those words, so simple, so quiet. But they sank into her heart like warm light through a cold window. She hadn't realized how much she needed someone. To see her, not the actress, not the image, just her. For a while, they stood in silence. Comfortable, healing silence. Then Keanu reached into his inner pocket and pulled out a folded card, held it out to her. "What's this?" she asked, curious. "I wrote something after watching your film. Wasn't sure if I'd give it to you, but ... maybe now's the time." Ana unfolded the card carefully. Inside, in neat handwriting, were a few short lines. "Your silence in that scene spoke louder than any scream. It stayed with me. You made pain beautiful without turning it into a performance. Thank you for being brave enough to be soft." Ana blinked fast, trying not to let her tears fall. She looked at him and whispered. No one said anything like that. No one even mentioned the film. Keanu gave a soft shrug. "I don't always know what to see, but some of us... we notice." The door behind them opened again. Voices spilled onto the balcony. Cameras clicked. Someone had spotted Keanu. A few guests rushed over, smiling, trying to engage him. But Keanu didn't move. He looked at Ana again and said, "Stay by me tonight. Not because you need someone, but because you deserve to be seen." She didn't answer with words. She just nodded softly, gratefully, as they stepped back into the ballroom together. Hands not touching, but hearts quietly connected. Something in the air changed. People turned. Not because of Keanu's fame, but because of the way he looked at Ana. Not with ownership, not with flash, but with real, quiet respect. And suddenly, the woman no one saw could no longer be ignored. The whispers that followed when Ana walked back into the ballroom beside Keanu, something shifted. It wasn't loud or sudden, but the difference was there. People who had earlier brushed past her were now glancing over their shoulders. Some whispered, others stared quietly, trying to figure out what had just changed. Keanu didn't seem to notice, or maybe he simply didn't care. He walked slowly, letting Ana set the pace, never rushing ahead or stealing attention. Every now and then, he looked at her, not in a way that claimed her presence, but in a way that said, "You're safe, you're seen." They passed a group of producers standing near the dessert table. One of them, a man with slick back hair and a sharp tux, gave Ana a double take. Just an hour ago, he had looked right through her. Now, he gave her a polite smile. Ana noticed the shift, but she stayed quiet. She wasn't sure how to feel. Grateful? Confused? Irritated that it took Keanu's presence for others to recognize her worth? She leaned toward him slightly and whispered, "Is it always like this for you?" Keanu tilted his head. Like what? People only noticing the people next to you? He gave a small smile, soft and a little sad. Sometimes, but sometimes, it's a chance to make them notice the right things. Just then, someone approached. It was Claire Gibbons, a respected actress who had won awards and hearts over the years. She was warm, grounded, and admired by many. Ana Claire said warmly, "I just wanted to say your film moved me. I watched it last week, the hospital scene. I don't think I breathed the entire time." Ana blinked. "Thank you. But that means more than you know." Claire nodded. "It's easy to get lost in the noise here. But what you did in that film, it was honest. Rare." She touched Ana's hand briefly, then moved on. Ana turned to Keanu, her eyes wide with surprise. "Did you say something to her?" Keanu shook his head. "Nope, she just needed a reason to step forward. Sometimes all it takes is a reminder." As the evening continued, more people came up to Ana. They spoke kindly, genuinely. Some apologized for missing her earlier. Others praised her work, asking deeper questions about her character, her process. It wasn't the usual surface-level compliments. These were real conversations. But Ana also noticed something else. The ones who still ignored her. They hadn't changed. Yes. They saw her with Keanu and still chose not to care. But now it didn't hurt the same. Now, it felt like their blindness, not her invisibility. Near the end of the night, Keanu stepped away for a few moments. He was invited to speak on stage, to present a small award. Ana stood at the back of the room, watching quietly as he spoke. His voice was steady and respectful, just like him. "We often celebrate the loudest performers," he said. "But tonight I want to acknowledge those who choose softness. Those who carry pain in their eyes instead of their voices. Those who remind us that acting isn't about pretending, it's about remembering." Some in the room looked puzzled. Others looked moved. Ana felt her chest tighten. She knew those words weren't just about a role, they were about her. When Keanu returned, Ana whispered, "Was that for me?" He smiled gently. It was for anyone who ever felt ignored in a room full of lights. Later, as the gala began to wind down, Ana and Keanu stepped outside again. The cool air wrapped around them like a gentle exhale. "You didn't have to do any of this, Ana?" said Keanu. Looked at her. "I didn't do anything. I just saw you, but no one else did."
Oh.
"They will now," he replied, "and not because of me.
Oh.
Because you've always been worth noticing." She looked up at the stars, feeling something she hadn't felt in months. Hope. It's not the fake kind you put on for interviews, but real, quiet hope. The kind that starts in your chest and slowly warms your hands. "Can I tell you something?" Ana asked. "Always," Keanu said. "I almost gave up last week. I thought maybe I'd done everything I could, that maybe the world didn't want what I had to give." Keanu paused. "And now," she looked at him, her voice soft but certain. "Now I think maybe the world's just slow, but not blind." Keanu chuckled. "That's the spirit." A long silence followed, but it wasn't empty. It was peaceful. Healing Anna turned to him. Do you think people like us ever really fit in at places like this? Keanu smiled. No, but sometimes we're the reason someone else finally does. Behind the velvet curtaineth, next morning, Anna woke up with a different kind of tiredness. Not the kind that came from walking in heels or staying out late, but the kind that followed after holding your breath for too long. And now, she had finally exhaled. She sat on the edge of her bed, sunlight peeking through her curtains. The silver dress from last night hung over the back of a chair. It shimmered quietly in the light, like it still carried part of that evening's strange magic. Her phone buzzed. She picked it up, expecting the usual flood of forgotten texts or distant congratulatory messages. But what she saw surprised her. Headlines. Keanu Reeves walks in with Ana de Armas. Internet can't stop talking about their quiet bond. Ana's film gets unexpected spotlight after emotional gala moment. What Keanu did for Ana at the gala is the definition of grace. Ana scrolled. Blinking slowly, the photos weren't posed. Someone had taken pictures of her and Keanu on the balcony, under the chandeliers, walking through the crowd together. None of it looked forced. Comments were filled with people talking about her film, her acting, her expression. She looked so graceful. I didn't even know she had a movie out. I'm watching it tonight. This is the kind of friendship Hollywood needs more of. Ana put the phone down, her heart thudding. She had gone to that event expecting nothing, maybe a few awkward handshakes, maybe even regret. Instead, something real had happened. Something human. And it started with just one person who didn't walk past her an hour later. Her phone rang again. It was Keanu. Hey, he said softly. Ana smiled. Hey, I saw the press stuff. You doing okay? I think so. It's weird. People are finally talking about the film. They should have from the start, he said. She hesitated, then asked, Was it weird for you? All the attention. Keanu paused. I'm used to people looking for stories. But last night wasn't a story. It was just two people seeing each other. Ana felt tears rise again, and she let one slide down her cheek. Thank you, Keanu. Not just for last night, but for making me feel like I belonged again. You always did. They just forgot. Before hanging up, Keanu added, Come with me today. There's someone I want you to meet. She asked. Someone who needs to hear what you have to say. A few hours later, Ana met Keanu at a quiet building tucked away from the city noise. It wasn't a studio or a press office. It was an old theater, the kind with worn red seats, dusty lights, and a smell of wooden stage boards and history. Inside were about 30 young actors, most of them sitting in a circle. Keanu walked in first. They all turned, surprised but thrilled. Some clapped. Some whispered his name like they couldn't believe he was real. He turned and gently motioned for Ana to come forward. This is Ana, he said to the group. She just released a film that moved me more than most things I've seen this year, and I think she has something you all need to hear. Ana looked at him, startled. He had not told her she'd be speaking. Her hands trembled slightly, but Keanu gave her a nod, not pressure. Just support? Ana took a deep breath and stepped forward. I'm not used to speaking like this, she began, but I guess that's the point. For a long time I thought if I wasn't loud or powerful or perfectly polished, people wouldn't listen. I thought being soft meant being invisible. The room went silent, but last night she continued, Someone reminded me that softness is strength too, that silence can carry more truth than 1,000 lines, that sometimes you don't need the whole world to clap. You just need one person to see you. Some of the young actors nodded, a few wiping their eyes. Ana smiled through her own tears. Don't wait for others to validate your work. Create it anyway. Love it anyway. And know that even if it goes unnoticed today, someone, someday, will feel it, and it will matter. When she stepped back, the room burst into quiet applause. Not the wild, shallow kind, but the kind that meant something. Keanu placed a hand on her shoulder. Told you they needed to hear it. Ana whispered, Thank you for believing in me before I did. Afterward, one of the young girls in the group approached Ana and said softly, I was going to quit after this program. But now, I think I'll give it one more try. Ana smiled. That's all it takes sometimes. Just one more try. As they left the theater, Keanu said, "You know, people think making films is about lights and awards." Anna looked up. "Do you think it's about?" He paused, then answered, "Connection, honesty, reminding someone they're not alone." Anna looked at the building one last time before they walked to the car. The sun was setting behind it, casting a warm golden light over the rooftop, you know? She said quietly, "Last night felt like the end of something. Today feels like the beginning of something better." Keanu smiled. "That's because it is." The moment that wasn't planned, the next few days moved slower. It's calmer. But something had shifted inside Anna. Her phone didn't stop buzzing. Interview requests, podcast invitations. Even to directors she deeply respected messaged her privately, telling her how much they admired her new film. They hadn't said anything before, so maybe they hadn't watched it yet. Maybe they just needed someone else to show them it was okay to care about quiet stories again. Anna still didn't chase the spotlight. But now, for the first time in a long while, it felt like the spotlight had stopped chasing the wrong things, but the real change wasn't in the messages or meetings. It was in her heart. She felt less like a shadow, less like a ghost in a world of noise. She felt human again, grounded. She had no big plans for the weekend. So when Keanu called her that Saturday morning and asked, "Do you want to come with me somewhere?" she said yes, without asking where. He picked her up in his old bike. Nothing fancy, just 2 wheels, calm wind, and his quiet presence beside her. Anna held on to him loosely as they rode through the hills, past the edge of the city, into open air and sun-painted silence. After about 40 minutes, they stopped at a small countryside space, a peaceful retreat surrounded by trees and a lake that shimmered like glass. There were no red carpets, no suits, just nature. "What is this place?" Anna asked. Stepping off the bike, Keanu took off his helmet and smiled. "I come here when I need to remember what's real." Anna took a deep breath. The air smelled of earth and pine. It was quiet in the best way, not empty, just full of peace. They sat by the lake under a tall tree. The water reflected the clouds, soft and slow. "I haven't felt this still in years," Anna said. Keanu nodded. "Most people in our world don't get still. They get distracted, busy, burned out." She picked up a small rock and tossed it gently into the water. Ripples spread slowly. "I used to think if I wasn't working, I was falling behind," she whispered. Keanu looked at her. "You're not behind. You're just healing." They sat for a long time in silence. Anna spoke again. "Do you remember your first failure?" she asked. Keanu chuckled softly. "Which one?" She smiled. "The first one that made you question everything," she said. He nodded slowly. "Yeah, I remember. I was 22.
Oh.
Turned down for a role I really wanted. They said I didn't have enough fire, that I was too quiet." Anna turned toward him. "You? Too quiet?" "Yeah," he said. They didn't see it as a strength back then. They saw it as weakness. "So what did you do?" "I stayed quiet," he said. "But I also stayed me." Anna watched him, her heart feeling soft again. "I think I needed to hear that." "You already knew it," he said. "You just forgot for a while." She smiled, a tear slipping down her cheek. Then suddenly they heard footsteps. A small group of hikers passed nearby, older women and men. One of them paused when he saw Keanu. "Are you... Keanu Reeves?" The man asked politely. Keanu smiled warmly. "Yeah. I'm sorry to bother you," the man said. "But your movie about grief, it helped me after I lost my wife." Keanu stood and shook his hand. "I'm really sorry for your loss." "Thank you," the man said. "Your silence in that film, it said things I couldn't." Anna stood behind Keanu, watching the exchange. The man didn't ask for a photo. He didn't make it weird, just looked thankful. When the hikers walked away, Anna said, "That's the kind of fan you never forget." Keanu nodded. "The quiet ones leave the deepest marks." They sat again. As the sun started to dip, Anna leaned her head gently on Keanu's shoulder, something she hadn't done before. "Can I tell you a secret?" she whispered. You don't have to ask, he said. I was scared that night at the gala. Scared that maybe I didn't belong, that maybe my time had passed. Keanu's voice was steady. And now, she paused, then said, now I think. Maybe it's just beginning. He didn't say anything. He didn't need to a few moments later. As they watched the golden light stretch across the lake, Anna said, you know, you never told me why you reached out to me before the gala. Why you invited me. Keanu hesitated, then looked at her honestly. I watched your film alone. No press. No noise. Just me and the story. And it hit me in the chest, I thought. If no one else shows up for her, I will. Anna blinked fast, but this time she didn't hide her tears. You didn't just show up, she whispered. You changed everything. Keanu gently took her hand, not for a photo, not for a show, just to remind her that real connection still existed. The wind picked up softly. Leaves rustled above them like a quiet applause only nature could give. A letter that was never meant to be read. A week passed. Anna was back in her apartment. The quiet kind of morning sunlight drifting across her coffee table, where old scripts and unopened letters rested in small, forgotten piles. Outside her window, the city continued to move fast, chasing moments, headlines, and deadlines. But inside, things had slowed down. Her heart had changed. It wasn't just the kindness Keanu had shown. It wasn't just the way people now looked. At her work, it was deeper than that. Something inside her had found stillness. Like a storm that had finally stopped roaring, she opened her laptop to check. An old email account she hadn't used in a while. It was one of those backup addresses full of spam, forgotten auditions, unanswered questions from years ago. She scrolled absent-mindedly until she saw one subject line that froze her. To Anna. In case I never send this, she clicked at it. Was from Keanu, dated almost a year ago. The body of the email was simple. No greeting, no goodbye. Just a letter, raw, honest, written like someone who never thought the other person would read. Anna's eyes moved slowly across the screen. I watched your performance again today. Not the one on the big screen, but the one in that small film that nobody talked about. The one where your character doesn't speak for most of the story. And I realized something. You carry pain like it's made of glass. Delicate, clear, but never broken. And in a world that loves loudness, you made silence unforgettable. You reminded me why I started acting, not for the red carpets or applause, but for the chance to tell truth without needing to shout. I wanted to reach out to you then, to say all this. But I didn't. Maybe because I was afraid you'd think it was strange. Or maybe because we live in a world where people only talk when they need something. But I don't need anything. I just wanted you to know. Someone saw you. Anna sat very still. She covered her mouth with one hand, tears running freely now, warm. And steady? This was before the gala, before the spotlight, before the change. He had seen her even when no one else had, and he never told her, not until now. Not even on purpose. She reached for her phone, fingers shaking slightly, and called. Him, he answered with a soft hey. Why didn't you ever send that email? She asked, her voice cracking. He was quiet for a moment, then said, I didn't want you to feel like I was trying to fix something, or make you feel small. I just wanted to respect your silence. Anna smiled through her tears, but it would have helped. I know, he said gently, but maybe. Now was the time you needed it most. I can't believe you kept that to yourself. Some things are stronger when they stay quiet for a while, he replied. Anna laughed lightly, wiping her cheeks. I think you have a gift for saying exactly what a person needs. Maybe, Keanu said, or maybe I just learned to listen. Anna looked out the window. The sky had shifted again, bright with scattered clouds, the kind that looked like they were slowly floating towards something better. Keanu, she said, voice soft but clear. I want to make another film. Good, he said without hesitation. But not for Hollywood, not for noise. Just something real, something quiet. He paused, then said, I'll be in it. Anna blinked. You don't even know the story? Doesn't matter, he said. If it's your story, it's worth telling. Silence sat between them again, but this time it felt like music. Anna closed her laptop gently, his heart still full. Later that evening, Keanu came over, not with flowers or champagne, but with a folder full of old poetry and film ideas he'd never shared with anyone. "Some of these might inspire your story," he said, handing it to her. Anna flipped through the pages slowly. Rough handwriting, bold lines, soft words. Everything unpolished and honest. One poem caught her eye. Read, "The world did not break me. It just made me quieter. And in the quiet, I found the sound of my real voice." Anna looked up, her voice low. "You wrote this?" Keanu nodded. "A long time ago." She smiled deeply, holding the page close. This is where the film starts." They didn't talk much after that. They just sat side by side on the couch, the city glowing outside. The window. No cameras, no scripts, no expectations. Just two people sharing something real. And that night, for the first time in years, Anna wrote again. Not for anyone else, but for herself. Every word felt like healing. The story that healed more than one sold script came together in fragments at first. Short scenes, quiet dialogue, lingering moments that didn't try to impress, only to feel. Anna didn't rush it. Often with Keanu beside her, reading old notes, offering ideas without ego, it's letting the story breathe. They didn't call it a film yet. It felt more like a shared letter to anyone who'd ever felt invisible. Anna named it The Quiet Room. It was about a woman who stopped speaking after heartbreak, and a man who never pushed her to talk but stayed. A man who helped her see that healing didn't need volume. They shot it on a shoestring budget. No studio, no managers, no big machines. Just a small, passionate crew in a rented cabin near the lake Keanu had once taken Anna to. It wasn't perfect. Sometimes the light was wrong. Sometimes the weather didn't cooperate. But none of it mattered, because the soul was there. The most powerful scene in the film was a silent one, no dialogue, just the woman sitting on the floor, surrounded by her memories, and the man entering quietly, sitting beside her. Not fixing her, not asking questions, just being there. Anna cried after they filmed that moment, not because of the camera, but because it was real. Keanu didn't say anything, simply held her hand. Months later, they premiered the film at a small, independent festival. No press coverage, no flashing lights, just folding chairs and an old projector. Anna was nervous. She thought, what if they don't get it? What if it's too soft for this world? But when the film ended, the room was silent, not because they didn't care, because they couldn't speak. People wiped their eyes quietly. Some leaned forward, holding their hearts. A woman in the second row whispered, "I felt like that once." No one waited for me like he did. A young man near the back said, "It made me call my mom," and then the applause came. Not loud, not wild, but deep, honest, human. Afterward, as people filed out, one of the judges came to them. A man in his 60s with silver hair and a soft voice. "This was the first story in years that didn't shout at me," he said. "Thank you for reminding me what cinema used to feel like." Anna held back tears again. Later that night, Keanu and Anna sat in the back of the empty hall. "Just the two of them, you know," she said. "I used to think success was about being seen by everyone." Keanu looked at her gently, and now, "I think it's about being seen by just one person, the right person, at the right time." "Q. Thank you for being that person," she added. He didn't respond with words. He reached into his coat and pulled out a single sheet of paper. "What's this?" she asked. "A scene I wrote," he said, "but never finished. It never felt right. Until now." She unfolded the page. It described a quiet moment between two characters. The woman asks the man why he never gave up on her. And he says, "Because even when the world went blind, you never stopped glowing." Anna closed her eyes, holding the page against her chest. "Let's make that our next film," she whispered. Keanu nodded. "Only if you direct it." She laughed through a tear. "Deal." That summer, the film began to quietly spread. Not through ads or billboards. Through word of mouth. Emails. Whispered recommendations. Teachers showed it to her class. A hospital played it for patients in recovery. Stranger uploaded a clip that went viral not because it was flashy, but because it made people feel suddenly. The story Anna thought no one would care about became the story everyone needed. But even as the attention grew, Anna stayed grounded. Every time she felt overwhelmed, she returned to the lake. Sometimes alone, sometimes with Keanu, always remembering that night under the stars. The moment when someone stood beside her, not because she was important, but because she was human. And years later, when a young actress asked her during an interview, "How did you find your voice again?" Anna didn't mention awards or headlines. She smiled softly and said, "Someone saw me when I didn't see myself." And instead of speaking, for me, he waited.